Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Podcast Pasta. That's a podcast that's like pasta, not the podcast that's about pasta. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today I'm joined with Kit Betelgeuse. You are a character designer and artist. Your work is mostly hosted on Twitter. I think you also do occasionally stream from time to time on Twitch. Kit, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Correct. I also have a blue sky, and I'm trying to be more active in it.
Well, Kit, thank
Same
you
name.
Thank you again for joining us on the program. Now, I know I gave you a very brief introduction, but I guess you kind of want to expand on that in your own words and explain, I guess, what you do and what motivates the work that you put out.
Okay. At least primarily, I am a novice character artist. There's a lot of those on the internet, but I like to consider myself a little bit on the pseudo professional side. I am self-taught. I love character design. I especially love designing like monster people characters, and I'm hoping sometime soon I'll start projects that are on the lines of um, think battle shonen comics, small stories, and if I have the opportunity, maybe I'm aiming super small because I think that I have to really start from scratch. So like very small games.
Now, you said that you were a self-taught artist. How did that path kind of form for you? Like, did you teach yourself through online tutorials or through, I guess, how did you teach yourself to draw?
There is a little bit of trial and error, but ever since I was small, like small, I mean baby, like 7 or lower, I really like drawing, but I'm a very picky person, and I was always dissatisfied. Um, so I always wanted to create things. So it there is a process of hammering my head against a wall until something works, and that's kind of how it's been the entire time through learning how to draw, how to design characters, how to figure out palettes that work. And um, even right now, I think that even though my art, I will say, is good, I have several flaws that I've noticed very hard. And um, I still think something as an artist, you should always like look at your art, see where you're doing, and some maybe you draw it well, but see how long it takes you. And that's where I'm at. Like backgrounds take me a long time, so even when I do them good, gotta take a while.
Now, is there ever an interest? Because I've talked to artists of different backgrounds, some self-taught, a lot that have also gone through a collegiate path to learn about creating art as well as like kind of enhancing their own skills. Is that something that would ever like interest you, like going to a school for art to improve yourself, basically?
I've thought about it, but I've always I'm always in this situation where I find myself too busy to learn, so I'm over the march. But I do have periods where instead of actively working, I try to just take a day, take a week to learn something specific. I don't think maybe it's at some point I'll pay for courses on specific things, but so far not really. It's mostly whatever I can gather from tutorials on YouTube and stuff like that.
Now you said that you've noticed like kind of some faults in your artwork. If you could kind of expand on that, like what flaws have you noticed in your own pieces, so to speak?
Um, well, if I were to point out like something like prominently is that I am lazy with backgrounds, and very specifically, knowing perspective is always easy because that's just rulers. But what's complicated is background design. So um, if you want to make an environment look like it's populated by the characters that exist within it, that's a hard skill that is very difficult to learn. And sometimes I look at a drawing that I did and it's like, oh yeah, this is a very cute character, but they're just standing on a room and there's like a carpet and a bed, but that carpet and bed doesn't say anything about this character or what situation is happening in that scene.
Yeah, or like how
So
artists put characters just in a void, just because whatever, I don't want to deal with the background.
yeah, I don't think I'm lazy with. Well, no, I am lazy in my approach to backgrounds, but it's not like I hate doing them. It's that I don't know.
Yeah, because I know a lot of artists, especially a lot of character artists, kind of I don't know if I would say the word like kind of outsource or like off-source that work to like if in a collaborative sense like somebody else does like the background work because it does take like its own kind of
Yes.
skill set to
Yes.
really master that. Yeah.
Some artists work in whenever there's like a project, they work more collaboratively for things like that. But nowadays there's tools that help with that. So it's kind of why I think it's a bit better to learn design, like things that speak to you and how to compose, how to express ideas, because you have idea like you have things like 3D models, references. If you go to like the Clip Studio store or something like that, you can find. I really need to draw a bicycle. You can find a bicycle 3D model and you can pose it, and you can either this is nice. This is not like a big controversial thing. But you can trace a 3D model bicycle, or you can just like plop it and use it as a reference in whichever angle you need it.
Now, I guess because I have also talked to like other character artists, I guess I would argue that's like the most prominent group. I don't think I've talked to too many environmental artists on the program, but I guess for you, why the focus on like character design specifically versus other things like environmental art or like color, or different other fields?
Uh, okay, absolutely, sincerely, it's because I read a lot of shonen. Like battle shonen is my favorite genre, if you will. Uh, but there's never the characters I like, and it ends up always boiling down to I want to see gay people punching each other with superpowers, and it doesn't happen very often. So I had to do my own.
I can respect that. What's your favorite battle shonen anime? Or battle shonen
Uh,
anime? Battle shonen manga.
it will be One Piece, definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, fair, fair.
I've been reading it since I was in high school, and I've been
You and
hooked
everybody
for
else. I
two
mean,
decades.
I'm sorry. No, it's I have like this running joke that I'm like I've enjoyed One Piece too, right? I saw it mostly like God, I think I was first exposed to it with like the I don't know if you're familiar with this, like the Four Kids dub, right, where they had to like censor like
I
a whole bunch.
I completely get you. I was a kid when I first watched it, but I didn't know English yet. Um, so I thought it was just called something Japanese, like One Piece, like written with like WAN Piece.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like it was
used
like an
something something,
original word or
and I
something.
tried
Yeah.
to Google it, and it didn't work. It didn't work. I just couldn't. I just couldn't get it to give me the result that I wanted. So I actually I was a kid. I lost track of the show for like 4 years until I went on a trip to Italy and I got a random volume from a bookstore,
Yeah,
and then I got hooked.
I always say this like kind of jokingly because like again I don't follow One Piece that much, but what I've seen of One Piece I do enjoy it, you know. But
Yeah,
I feel like it has to be overhyped, not because it's bad, but because everyone like talks about it like it's the second coming of Christ, and it's like, okay, guys, it's good, but is it that good, right?
it's what I will say is that it's consistently good, and there is not going to be something that long and that good ever again.
Ever again.
Like, yeah, it is at this point. Writing on 30 years, it's an experience just to like be part of the One Piece fandom and just reading the thing, and it for me, since I've been reading it since I was pretty much a child. It feels like, oh, the characters are like my family, and I get to see them every week and their adventures. It gets a little bit special in that sense, and that's kind of why it means a lot more to me in that regard. But I still love just seeing them every Sunday when the chapters pop out.
So I guess kind of tying this into your own work, what is the biggest, I guess, takeaway that you've wait, there's a better way of wording this. I guess what's the biggest thing that you've taken away from something like One Piece and I guess incorporated into your own work in terms of like inspiration?
Mm, Well, narratively speaking, I love stories of found family, of admittedly fighting against establishments and what is the term for that, authority. I don't like being told what to do. Um, and I like mixing that with the first time I fell in love with One Piece was during the Thriller Bark arc, which is essentially let's go to the zombie island with all the spooky things and Halloween stuff is, and that's when I started designing monster characters. I just felt completely obsessed. So that is like thematically what I got and aesthetically what I got.
Now, obviously, you love designing characters. I can very much hear the passion in it when you talk about it. But, you know, like with everything everybody does, you know, I'm sure there's aspects of it that you dislike. For example, with me in podcasting, I'm not really the biggest fan of audio editing. I'm not amazing at it. You know, I try my
Mhm.
best, but I guess
Um,
for
uh,
designing
I have
characters,
audio editor friends that they comment on how tedious it is.
yeah, I mean, I don't really have any formal training in it. I've self-taught myself that, especially as it's funny that we have like very similar approaches where I'm very kind of like hit myself like very bullheaded about how I approach like improving my work and stuff like that, like hitting walls and then just like improving as I go rather than like researching first and then applying it.
Mhm.
But I guess for yourself, what is your least favorite aspect of character design?
Um, it it's hard to say because I don't one of the aspects I like of One Piece is like the variability of character designs that I have. So you can always decide like an ugly character or a funny character or a character that's very pretty. So I don't really have difficulties, but I do find that that uh, character design can get very ambitious. Uh, and it's that situation where like, oh, this character has a very cool full arm tattoo. how am I going to draw that like in 30 pages in a month? Like every panel, it will destroy your arm. You should not do that. And knowing how to manage and keep a like a design like down to the bare essentials is the most difficult and the most frustrating part, because sometimes you want to do something really cool and you know that you're gonna suffer for it.
So yeah, like working within yeah, it's funny in my previous not my previous episode, but an episode I did a little while back ago, I was talking about like Naruto's headband came from like kind of a similar I guess I would say limitation, where originally it was goggles, but then the artist was like, oh, this would be very complicated to like draw like, you know, consistently for
Yeah.
panels, so that's why they switched it to like a simpler headband design.
Yeah, that's another thing. If you can avoid it, like don't put geometric shapes into your characters if they're very long, because that's going to take, you're gonna have to pull out a ruler and you're not gonna like it.
Right. Um, so I noticed that you've gone, I think, quite a bit of a following, at least from what I saw on Twitter. You know, what has been so far? What has been the most surprising response that your work has gotten from your fans?
Um, it's hard to say because it always catches me by surprise. Um, around around 2021, I did a bit of a study. I was a little more interested in the numbers back then. Now I'm like a bit whatever. I do what I want. Um, but I was investigating how other artists presented their character art in order to like get views. And I did a couple failed attempts. At least back then, what worked was that you had to like present your character with as short a concept as possible in a sort of League of Legends style. So you will say, I don't know, Poppy, the surprising hero or something, and you put them, you give the name and title, and for whatever reason that exploded, and it exploded significantly more out of control than I ever expected it to. That's when I got like my first surge of following. So it was pleasant. And then at any time I post a little essentially meme about Pokemon, it always explode, and it's weird.
How so?
Pokemon has a strange pull in my account. The last time I did was I tried to predict that uh, Wiglet, the new version of Diglett that is like a white
Oh yeah, where it's
or
like super
red.
long or something. I think I saw that
Yeah,
art of yours where like your
yeah,
conceptualization was it just extends through the planet.
yeah. Basically, it's like Diglett on one side, and then its tail is Wiglet at the other side of the planet, and that was the concept, and that exploded for a while.
Yeah, that's very funny. That's very funny. So I guess you also do I mean I don't know how long you want to necessarily fixate on this, because like I said, you also stream on Twitch, but is that more of just a side thing for you, or
Um, Currently, it's more of a hobby. I'm trying to essentially, I have a problem, which is that I am admittedly a workaholic. So I'm forcing myself to play video games to like actually consume media, catch up on things that I haven't played ever, um, and and sometimes just do a little doodle here and there for like whoever's viewing. Right now I'm catching up on Deltarune, which I haven't touched since chapter 1.
I've heard good things about like Deltarune. I think I played a little bit of oh my god, what's it called? It has Sans, the Skeleton Brothers. Oh my god, how am I blanking on this? It was the previous game.
Undertale, yeah.
Undertale, yeah. I played a little bit of that and didn't get too far into it, maybe because I just have like a weird RPG block sometimes where it's like, you look at how long something's going to be to complete. I'm like, I got other things to do. I don't know.
It is pretty funny. Has very good writing.
Yeah, yeah, but so part of streaming you said is to like do to like I guess engage with more current like video games, more current art. But you do
Yes.
also sometimes like collab with other people, right?
Yes.
Right. And
Um.
so I guess how did those collaborations come about? Were they just longtime friends, or were they also just people that just approached you out of the blue?
It's kind of approached me out of the blue. I'm sort of uh perpetually saying yes to people. Just I have fun with friends. I kinda like, not to toot my own horn, but I kind of know everybody. So whenever someone pops up with saying, "Hey, let's do this thing for Pride Month or something," I just like, sure, why not? Let's go.
No,
I just tend to say yes to anything.
no, that's very good attitude in life. Um, there's actually been like a recent like kind of trend on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, of people talking about like more negative collab experiences. And feel free to be as vague as you want about this because I don't want you to, obviously throw anybody under the bus. But have you had any negative experiences like that in the collaborating streaming space?
Um, not
And don't you
not
dare call out my
necessarily.
show on my show. How dare you? I'm sorry, go
No, no.
ahead.
I not in several years, like far back enough that it wouldn't be like pertinent. Um, I pretty much most of the people I know is extremely chill, and it's more likely to like it's more likely to succeed and happen. But it's also like, like a 30% just fall through, but not negative feelings or anything. Just like, man, I'm tired. We didn't do the thing. Oh damn.
Okay, so no problems that so far with like any specific any creators specifically, just like certain situational things. Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Well, I guess as somebody that is in this artistic community, and I always ask like a version of this question with my other guests, but and I've formulated over the years with different phrasing and stuff like that. But I guess given the art scene, what is your biggest criticism of the current art scene?
Uh, People. It's pretty much people are online too much. Um, I think my most positive experience. Um, my most positive experiences recently will be meeting a group of artist peers and not even drawing, just like playing something like Monster Hunter or Baldur's Gate or just simply D&D sometimes. Um, just I think people need to spend time with other people more, and instead of and lay down the internet a little bit. It's biting the hand that feeds me. But it's important to like, you know be human and consume art.
Right. I think like Hayao Miyazaki kind of has a similar take where, he was talking about like the modern anime scene and how a lot of people like
Yeah,
they
the difference is that he thinks that you should go out and experience nature. I want to do that, but I'm also very meek and passive, and everything scares me. So humans are good enough.
Right, right. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. Especially because I think that does kind of inform your storytelling a bit by interacting with people. You get a lot of writing that you could tell it's from people that are very inundated with writing, so you get like a repeat of a lot of different tropes and stuff like that. And I think in order to kind of break that, you kind of have to see the world outside of media, which again is kind of ironic considering I do a show dedicated to me giving like my media takes and stuff like that. But I promise this isn't all that I do in my day-to-day life. But so I guess how do I want to word this next question? Um, so you talked a little while back ago about how with a lot of your art there is kind of, I think, this guiding story that follows it. I guess if you kind of want to expand on that a bit, like what is I guess what is the overall like story that you're going with a lot of your like original characters and stuff like that? If you could give me like a broad synopsis.
Let's see. I like to explore adjust the story a bit to the theme. Um, right now, I am going through a situation where I am I'm currently living in Italy and slowly moving and processing my immigration and everything so that I can go live with my boyfriend. Hopefully marrying soon. Um, and among these things, we've been working on this for years because going to the United States is very hard.
Yeah, I mean, I would say
So
don't, but that's my take.
yeah, I end up with a lot of narratives about how every time, like at least 3 times, I try to write a concept, and it comes off as powerless protagonist tries really, really hard to uh, use superpowers to connect a long distance relationship. And the narrative ends up being a lot about agency and control and what you and what things you do and what efforts you make when like systems and higher powers are against you.
Before we continue further, I actually forgot to do this at the start of the episode, but if you are, for any listeners listening this far into the episode, if you're liking the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Greatly helps the channel. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to do that sooner. Anyways, going back to the interview.
Mhm.
So I guess you know you've collabed with other people, at least in like a streaming sense, but I guess in terms of artistic projects, are there any like dream collaborations that you would want to engage with yourself, or I guess any other artists in the sphere that you look up to and inspire you?
Um, the this is ambitious as hell of me. But long time ago, I uh I had a positive communication with Robert Ross, and I've had positive positive. It's like 1 to 2 degrees of separation with like all of these animation situations that are happening right now on the internet that are getting very strong. So I would love someday to do something with like you know artists that have worked with Glitch Studios, or even like Bipsy Pop, for all the things that people say about her. I really love the what she works on. Um, that will be something of a project that I would like to do.
Yeah, I will also say I think sometimes Vizzy Pop gets like a lot more flack than she deserves. I mean, not to say that I don't have my own criticisms of her own work, but I think yeah, I think just a lot of the vitriol against Has Been Hotel, Hell of a Boss seems I think a bit more intense than is warranted.
It's a thing of there's a difference between it being bad and it not being for you. Sometimes it's both.
Yeah, exactly. Like because approaching Hell of a Boss, I knew like kind of the general demographic, and I knew I was outside that demographic, so I kind of gave myself like more leeway into I guess enjoying it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not to say that again, I think there are just like general faults that even people within that demographic can acknowledge from the show, but I think I think there are aspects that work. I think one thing that I give credit to Vizzy Pop is that her art style is distinct enough to where you can, and I think I probably brought this up before. Her art style is distinct enough to you could tell it's a Vizzy Pop work, right? And if you
Yeah.
compare it to like a lot of other shows where it's like so generic, like sci-fi, for example, so many properties draw from like Blade Runner that all kind of bleeds together in your
Yes.
mind.
Yeah.
So that's always one credit that I give to Vizzy Pop.
I sometimes the Bipsy Pop art style is kind of made to, it's made as an aesthetic that appeals to specific people, and I think that has value for the people that it's made for. Sometimes when you make art, it's not gonna be for everybody, but for the people that it's for, it's going to be their life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah, and
yeah.
but conversely, like the one criticism I have, for example, that I think I agree with a lot of other people is that sometimes her designs can be like sometimes her characters can be over
Yep.
designed, and like the designs can be a bit noisy. I think.
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah,
I can agree.
yeah.
Like, look, if I'm gonna have one hot take character design about Has Been Hotel is that I am tired that everyone on Twinks Alastor. Like, please stop doing that.
No, I've never
Just
noticed that
let me
phenomenon.
have him.
um, but no, I guess that's it, because you said a little while ago that you actually had a brief contact with Rubber Ross. How did that happen? Like, was it just a comment, or did he actually like message you himself? Well, I don't know
I,
if it's himself, but like, did he
gosh,
message you, or was it like, just like a comment?
it was extremely long ago. It was like I think it was in the Tumblr days.
Oh,
So I don't remember. But it was just like a string of small responses on an artwork. I don't even remember if it was my artwork or his. It was one. I don't recall.
oh, okay. Oh no, because I was just saying that at least from my own experience, like with very large creators, they it's very I mean that's like a whole other thing, but basically they could be kind of I guess inundated because once you get to like a certain size, you don't necessarily handle like your own communications and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it would make sense that it was like more in the past. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it could have anyone using his account, but it was just like a random Tumblr post, so an interaction.
yeah, yeah, but still, either way, congrats and congrats so far on all your success, especially I think you actually have a pretty decent Patreon page where you've garnered a bit of support from there too. What is, I guess, oh man, this is such like a business question, but I guess what is your overall approach to like pushing your Patreon? Because I know some people are kind of apprehensive on like paywalling their work, right? Because some people have the logic, well, if people are going to pirate it anyways, might as well just provide it free. And other
I
people just want all their fans to be together to enjoy their work. So I guess what has been your overall tactic with that?
pretty much the Patreon is more of a side thing. Um, I don't like paywalling my content. I don't even like calling it content. I don't like paywalling my artwork, but sometimes I feel insecure about my art, uh, and I'm like, this is not worth posting publicly. But I will like compile it into a bunch of sketches or drawings that are like a little more meaningless, and I'm just like, I guess if you guys want it, here it is. And that's kind of how I present the Patreon. It's just you can see it first, and maybe eventually I'll just like drop it on the public space.
Okay.
If anything, what I think is important, at least if I was to give advice as an artist to other artists about how to do this, I think like the aspect of community is more important. So like direct channels to talk with people, um like Discord or just simply like having a smaller comment section, just because the Patreon is more limited people rather than the potential thousands that you could have in a place like Twitter. That can be sometimes an incentive. But I also encourage people to manage how parasocial they get with their followers. Like, don't put yourself into a parasocial position with the people that follow your art.
I guess another, I guess, kind of problem that I've seen sometimes arise is that, if you have like these more direct lines of communication with your fans, that's also like a more direct line that fans have to voice any like critiques of, your work or anything that you do. And I guess for your case, if you've had, I'm not necessarily sure how much critiques that you had of your work, but from fans, but if you do, how do you kind of, I guess, separate like the actual concerns that you think should be addressed that your fans are bringing up from like people that are just voicing general, like, vitriol against what you do?
I surprisingly get very little criticism, which is not great. I would like to get more comments. Like, if something is to be learned from this is like, I want more comments on my thing so that I know what I'm doing right or wrong. But pretty much most of the negativity that I get from in any sort of comment section has been like transphobia or something like that.
Right. Just from people that don't want to engage with your work at all. Just, okay.
I don't doubt that if I get any bigger, it's gonna be more common. So like, I'm just preparing myself.
Right. No, that's fair. So I guess what is, how would I say this? So I guess what would be like the dream in terms of you expanding your work? Because I know like some people start off as like, just artists creating work, but down the line they have like dreams of, doing an animated series, and sometimes those dreams come true. Like again with like Vizzy Pop, I think like her early work was just like starting with like, character designs, and then she did like short little animations with like Keisha music and stuff like that. So do you see yourself like, ideally taking that type of path with your own like pieces?
The thing is that right now I don't really know animation. I'm trying to study and learn on the side, but it hasn't advanced very much. And I've always been very into the world of comics and like the language of comics. So a sort of dream project for me will be something similar to what Homestuck was in its peak, where um, it was a sort of it was a comic, but it was sort of mixed media where it combined like animations and music. That's more or less what I would really like to produce, to create, to just dedicate my stories into a, a comic format, but that also had good supplementary material such as music and animations, and potentially like a maybe spin-offy game or something.
Right, and I should have clarified too that I always hate asking that type of question because it's like that Mitch Hedberg bit where it's like, you know, going up to a cook and asking, "Hey, do you like farming?" You know, like I get it, like animation and character, drawing, character design, they're two very different fields. But it's always just interesting to see how people like want to pan out and expand their art. I guess kind of because, this show is dedicated to talking about like, media, like obviously a big part of it is talking to like interviewing artists and stuff like that. But like a big part of it is also talking about like media and different like hot takes and things like that I have from time to time. You talked about like One Piece being like the best battle shonen anime that, out there. It's basically your favorite. What is the worst in your opinion?
Oh gosh, that is a loaded question. uh, the the thing is that if you're up with it, you know that essentially hundreds of series get canceled every year. So if they're canceled, it's maybe because they were very bad or they didn't reach good potential. Um, without spoilers, I there's a manga that I consider it a shonen, even though it's kind of very adult in theme. Um, but it's by Tatsuki Fujimoto, the creator of Chainsaw Man. It's called Fire Punch. Um, Many people love Fire Punch. I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
um, I even coined the term the Fire Punch syndrome, which is when a show tries to um when a story tries to get you interested in a character, and then that character starts doing horrible things in order to become a bad person, or not even morally, but like wasting your time for investing into them, and ultimately showcasing that nothing matters, and then they die. And this happens like 12 times through the course of Fire Punch, and it happens a couple times in Chainsaw Man too. And that's when people say, "Oh, damn, Chainsaw Man's ending was kind of bad." And I'm like, haha, you guys didn't know.
Right, so it's like basically like character arcs aren't necessarily being like fulfilled to their best potential.
Yeah, and just to cover myself a little bit, I actually really love Chainsaw Man, and I just do like the ending of Chainsaw Man Part 2.
Right, I've only really
I was prepared and people weren't.
No, yeah, I like Chainsaw Man too, but I'm not a big manga reader in general. I've mainly experienced it through the anime, and I can't remember if they're coming out with a new season of it.
There's a new movie.
Yeah, I saw the Rize. I think it's called like the Rize arc movie. Yeah, and that was an incredible movie. Yeah, that's interesting because I do like. You were talking about earlier how oftentimes you have to kind of experience, I guess, well, kind of tangentially related, but you kind of have to experience like the world or experience art outside of like what you're accustomed to. And what I like about the creator of Chainsaw Man is you could tell, or Chainsaw Man, or even like the animation studio that they got to adapt his work, is that a lot of them very much love like movies, but like, movies outside of like anime
Yes.
movies, like, Western movies, right? And you could
Oh yeah,
see a lot of that
when
influence in
Fuji
like the shot composition and things like that, right?
yes. Well, when Fujimoto gets too nerd about his cinema, he loves to to gush about how much he likes cinema. And it gets fun when he gets to do that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
it happens a lot in his stories, in both Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man. Happens a lot.
Yeah, and I think it really helps to kind of avoid the staleness that you sometimes have with like other manga, right? Where you could tell that there were artists that were inspired by manga and nothing else, right?
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
and to be
it's also one of the reasons why, for example, Hirohiko Araki can make JoJo so unique, because he takes influences from all over the world and make a unique combination that only he could come up with.
right, yeah, exactly, exactly. But I guess for so I guess how do you do that with your own art then? Like incorporating, outside of just like, character design that you see from other artists, how do you incorporate things from outside of the artistic world into your pieces?
That is actually the um a part that I admire from other artists, but that I struggle with because I am a bit of a more reclusive person. Is that how you pronounce that word? Reclusive?
Reclusive, yeah. Yeah.
I I'm not a very well lived person. That I don't go out that much. Recently, I've been traveling a bunch more, but it takes time. So in that sense, I love exploring aspects of community and integrating them into either my writing or my aesthetics. So, for example, I really love speedrunning. I love anything that has to do with competitive fighting games. Um, those are like my main little obsessions over there. That I love documentaries. I love reading about history and architecture and architecture. My English is starting to fail.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Um, and I'm also trying to study a lot about fashion of different cultures and times, and hopefully that's making its way into my character designs and hopefully my stories too.
Yeah, I would say as somebody that also likes fighting games a lot, that fighting games are definitely, I think, the best genre if you are a character designer and you want to like improve your
Yeah.
designs, especially in relation to gameplay function, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of designs in like fighting games, like Street Fighter, for example, the archetypical fighting game, you have characters where you could look at them at a glance and immediately understand like how they're supposed to play for the most part. Like Zangief, big grappler guy,
Yes.
so you want to get up close. Dulcim, you see the long limbs, so you get the general sense that like, oh, you want to stay away from your opponent. And this is even before understanding like their normals and
Absolutely.
things like that.
Yeah, it's I actually adore the intersection between gameplay and character design, where you need to be able to somewhat guesstimate what a character is capable of doing just by looking at it.
Um,
It's a topic that gets fascinating very quickly. You can get into a rabbit hole very for hours.
so I guess for hmm, I know I asked like a similar question like this before, but I guess in the more immediate future, what like do you have any pieces planned that you're gonna be pushing out soon, or any like big projects that you feel at liberty to talk to? I know before this call you mentioned that you were working on something, but you don't feel at liberty to necessarily talk about that. But anything else that you can talk about?
Um, I right now more or less getting through more of a commission queue. Oh, that's a words that have too many use. That those are hard.
Yeah, Q. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going through a commission queue. But after that, I would really love to do like maybe a 10-page comic in October. Just a little character presentation or interactions. Something to there is a term for that, like drip the taste of the drink on the palate of the viewer. But there's a way of saying that. I just don't remember how it's done.
Right.
Give a taste, I guess,
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
to how I write and how characters interact.
Right. Yeah, because mostly, at least for myself, I've engaged with your work through like the individual, like, like character design pieces, right? Where you draw like just a single character in certain settings. But I
Yeah,
haven't been like, you have drawn like comics, right?
I have, but most of them are like some are lost media, some are just more of the spicy variety, so not super bring up.
Not
So
directly
it's
available.
more.
Yeah.
I want to take on work that like it's actual writing on the genre that I want to explore. It's still gonna be a little sexy, but it's not it's actual story. That's what I want to do. But past comics are more gratuitous, if you will.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay, so that's why I haven't been exposed to it necessarily. Um, but I guess kind of going into that. Yeah, I guess we can go into that. Why not? So you do like more spicier work, more erotic work. And I feel like sometimes artists kind of get compelled to do that type of work. Like the example I could give, there was like a Zelda animator where a lot of people were joking, like, when are you going to eventually, turn to the dark side, as like a lot of the audience was saying. Did you ever felt like kind of pushed into doing that type of work, or was it something that you've always like had, I guess, a passion for, so to speak?
Um, Here's the thing. Um, people 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 have come to me with that assumption. But it's a situation of if what I wanted is money, I will be drawing fan art of whatever anime girl of the month is popular right now. I end up doing a lot of pretty much just gay artwork just because while growing up I had that very repressed, and I didn't have many outlets for exploring that part of my identity. So it just spilled into a lot of it.
Right, because like your lived experience obviously informs your work, right?
Yes, I essentially I want to I do it because I want to let's say make normalized or a little more mainstream the idea that you know making men hot is a good idea, and I want more people to do it.
Right, because like we've had I don't know if I'd say like necessarily. I mean, I guess you could call it a shift, especially compared to like ancient Greece and stuff like that. But where, obviously there's a lot of emphasis on like the the beauty of like the female form, whereas like you don't necessarily see that with like a more masculine form, right?
Hmm.
Um, and you know, you obviously see it like in our community, but also in like other like creation spheres and stuff like that. Um, so I think I also do agree. I think it is like a good initiative to like push like the admiration of the masculine form, so to speak.
Yeah, it's. I have a bit of a comparison. You know, Lady Dimitrescu, the character.
Yeah, from Resident Evil. Yeah.
Um, nobody. I think that nobody knew that they wanted her until she was a thing. Like, oh, I like big monster woman. Um, and I kind of want to. A lot of my artwork delves into trying to generate that effect on people, but about the types of characters that I like.
Right. Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Um, well, we are approaching the hour mark. Kit, this has been a ton of fun. If you want to go ahead and shout out where people can find you, where people can find your work.
Uh, oh, no, of course. It's just Kit Beetlejuice. It's not like the ghost, even though I'd love him. It's like the star, Kit Beetlejuice. On both Blue Sky and Twitter. And pretty much any other social media. I'm also on Newgrounds and slowly filling it back up. Also
Oh,
on Twitch, of course, same name everywhere.
okay, and I will try, and I'll link to your work in the description of this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Again, if you liked what you saw and you managed to listen this far, please like, comment, subscribe. You know, yada yada, helps the channel. Don't feel stressed if you don't want to. I get it. You know, you encounter a random video on YouTube. Don't feel compelled to like, you know, subscribe. You know, I don't subscribe to every random YouTuber I come across. But I guess as like kind of a little ending bit here, kind of experimenting with talking about subjects that I don't think I'm going to commit a full episode to. Part of that is I don't really do reviews on this show like a lot of my other contemporaries. But I've been enjoying Spider-Man Noir. You know, it's been a series that has kind of slowly been building for me that, you know, as watching it, I've been enjoying it more and more. I still think it's kind of a cop out that they did both the color and black and white version, especially since watching it, you could kind of tell that I think it was shot for color more just because I think some of the shots don't make sense in black and white, but that might be me being ill-informed about like the nature of like black and white filmography because it's not like a specialization of mine. But no, I think I would recommend it. At least, you know, watch a few. You know, I think it's a more relaxing watch. I think it kind of harkens back to like, you know, yeah, to some degree, like older TV shows, but like older media broadly. I think it's definitely worth checking out.
Huh.
But that's it for me. Take care, y'all. Bye bye.